Choosing your first sport bike is less about speed and more about trajectory. Not the trajectory of the motorcycle, but the trajectory of the rider. The machine you begin with will shape your habits, your reflexes, your confidence, and ultimately your safety. It will influence how you approach corners, how you apply throttle, how you interpret risk. It becomes your first instructor, whether you realize it or not. In a category dominated by escalating horsepower figures and marketing built around top-speed claims, the Kawasaki Ninja 400 takes a different approach. It does not attempt to dominate its class through numbers. It focuses on control. And that focus changes everything. New riders often face a psychological pull toward larger displacement machines. It's understandable. Bikes like the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-6R represent aspiration, the middleweight super sport dream seen on racetracks and highlight reels. The Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R represents dominance, a flagship superbike engineered with racing DNA and immense capability. But performance without developed technique creates dependency, not mastery. When acceleration is abundant, riders can rely on power to compensate for inefficient cornering. When torque is overwhelming, smoothness becomes optional rather than necessary. That dynamic slows real growth. The Ninja 400 occupies a critical middle ground. It delivers authentic sport bike dynamics, aggressive styling, committed riding posture, precise handling, without overwhelming acceleration. That distinction is foundational, because foundations determine longevity. At 399 cubic centimeters, the parallel twin produces roughly 45 horsepower. On paper, that figure appears modest in a world where 100 horsepower is considered entry-level for super sports. But raw numbers rarely tell the full story. More important than peak output is delivery. The Ninja 400 produces power progressively. Throttle input translates directly to predictable acceleration. There is no abrupt spike, no intimidating surge, no sudden rush that outpaces a rider's processing speed. Instead, there is clarity. For a beginner, this consistency develops three essential skills: throttle modulation, corner exit discipline, situational awareness. You learn how much throttle is appropriate, not because you fear excess power, but because you understand mechanical response. On larger machines, excessive power can mask poor technique. A sloppy line can be corrected with brute acceleration. An early throttle application can be forgiven by electronic intervention. On the Ninja 400, technique determines performance. If you exit a corner cleanly, the bike rewards you. If your line is inefficient, you feel it immediately. And that is precisely why it works. At under 170 kilograms wet, the Ninja 400 is objectively light. But what matters more than the number is how that weight communicates. When you lift it off the side stand, it feels manageable. When you guide it through a tight parking lot turn, it feels cooperative. When you misjudge a low-speed maneuver, recovery feels possible. Low-speed maneuvers become manageable rather than stressful. Parking lot practice feels productive instead of intimidating. Small mistakes remain recoverable. This distinction is critical during the first year of riding. Lightweight motorcycles create a learning environment. Heavy motorcycles create pressure. Pressure reduces experimentation. Reduced experimentation slows growth. Beginners benefit from environment, not pressure. The Ninja 400's chassis is not dull. It is not overly softened. It is not artificially muted. It is responsive. When entering a corner, the front end communicates clearly through the bars. You feel loading as you apply the brake. You sense stability as you initiate lean. When applying throttle mid-corner, the rear remains composed. There is no dramatic weight transfer, no unsettling snap. The result is feedback. And feedback builds awareness. This is how riders begin to understand weight transfer, how deceleration compresses the front suspension, how braking pressure influences turn-in geometry, how body positioning affects stability and grip. The motorcycle does not correct mistakes for you. It reveals them. That distinction accelerates growth. Because awareness precedes improvement. Unlike aggressive super sports that demand physical endurance and core strength, the The Ninja 400 adopts balanced ergonomics. There is forward lean, but not excessive wrist strain. Rear set pegs, but not extreme knee compression. A sporty posture, without punishing commitment. For beginners, this allows longer riding sessions without fatigue becoming a distraction. Fatigue clouds judgment. Discomfort reduces focus. Reduced focus slows learning. When discomfort decreases, focus increases. And focus is critical during the learning phase. A motorcycle that allows you to ride longer, comfortably, increases total seat time. And seat time remains the most reliable teacher. Skill development requires repetition. Repetition requires access. The Ninja 400's pricing, insurance category, fuel efficiency, and parts availability reduce financial friction. And financial pressure often limits practice. If a rider fears repair costs, they ride cautiously, not intelligently. If insurance premiums are overwhelming, mileage decreases. If maintenance is expensive, consistency suffers. A motorcycle that feels financially manageable encourages riders to train consistently. Consistency produces competence. Competence produces confidence. Confidence built gradually is durable. There is a common misconception that smaller displacement bikes are temporary, stepping stones to real motorcycles. In reality, smaller motorcycles often refine riding technique more effectively than powerful ones. On a Ninja 400, carrying corner speed matters. Line selection matters. Braking precision matters. Momentum conservation matters. Without surplus horsepower, efficiency becomes the objective. And efficiency is the language of advanced riding. Many experienced riders return to lightweight platforms for exactly this reason. They reveal truth. They expose inefficiencies. They demand smoothness. They reward discipline. Confidence built gradually is durable. Confidence built through intimidation is fragile. The Ninja 400 enables incremental growth. You improve. The motorcycle responds. You refine further. The response sharpens. This loop creates self-assurance rooted in competence, not bravado. And that is the hallmark of a disciplined rider. The purpose of a first sport bike is not to impress. It is to educate. It is to establish fundamentals that scale upward if you choose to move to larger machines. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 does not overwhelm. It does not intimidate. It does not disguise poor habits with excessive power. It develops riders methodically, deliberately, intelligently. And for those who value long-term skill over short-term spectacle, that may be the most intelligent choice available.